I would really love to share some stories of my family. And I say this because I was visiting my nieces and nephews, or my nephew, Moises, Moishi, for his kid's 1-year-old birthday party. Josiah, who looks just like my grandpa, and I don't call him grandpa, I call him Appa. And my Appa was like one of my most favoriteest human beings. I'm sure, like I said, I was one of his most favorite human beings. My Appa was a diehard alcoholic. He was, it was bad. But like, the good stuff that I do remember, is, his hair. I used to love running my fingers through his hair and feeling his soft skin. His wrinkly skin, right? Sorry. Haven't thought about him in a minute. And, oh my God, I loved him so much. He read so many books. I mean, so much. He read a lot. And he read those little magazines, basically the tiny pamphlets. It's Pulp Fiction. That's another reason why I love that movie so much, because it's about like a drama series of a book that you read. And I don't know, I love reading and coincidences like that. But anyway, or knowing like what words actually mean, and there's like a meaning behind the name of something, but maybe it's just not a word or words that we use anymore. They're not part of our vernacular, and it's not, in circulation anymore. It's like not a popular word. So I find the meanings of words fascinating, and I think he would be the one to thank for that. Anyways, so he's just so smart, and he read a lot and told amazing stories. He told me not only good stories, he told me some of the things that he had done, or how he used to treat my grandma. And I would just sit there and listen, and he would give me peanut butter crackers. Like, that's my favoriteest thing to get from him. And I still love me some peanut butter crackers. So anyway, what came to mind to me earlier was thinking about, sharing stories of my family. So people know, that we are all kind of living similar lives. We all go through similar things, and that, we should give each other grace. We shouldn't walk around like we're better than others, like we're trying to manipulate them, change them, coerce them. I feel like we're here to serve. I'm here to serve humanity, uplift the energy on the planet, for the better. I feel like we all have a purpose and a mission, and it's very similar. It's just the paths may look very different. And in thinking of the stories of my family, I would love to share how resilient my family is, through all the shit. And, human beings are resilient. I mean, we're like fucking roaches, right? We're still here. And I'm sure there's people who will survive any crazy thing that happens on the planet. And that's like completely out of our control. So for those of you who are probably ridden with anxiety with all the shit that's happening on the planet, in our country, in your life, it's out of our control for the most part. So the things that you cannot control, or the things you don't know yet, I would try to tell my patients when they would find something out, like, something on imaging, like a nodule or something, and they would freak out and be scared. And I was like, you really don't have anything to freak out about just yet, and all, people are saying is there's a nodule, and you got to wait it out. You got to either recheck it again in 3 months to see what happens and kind of go from there. It's like a waiting game, right? And in those moments to try to tell people that I'm sure it's fucking hard. I mean, like I've been through similar things where, like I'm told something and I'm like, now it's my turn to not think about it, because it could be nothing. It could be something, but like, why the fuck am I gonna freak out about it and be super ridden with anxiety anymore? I'm not doing that anymore, because that physically makes you sick. So you're producing all this fucking cortisol and it's feeding whatever fucking nodule you have going on in your body. So if you can, and it takes a lot of reprogramming your mind and thinking your day-to-day, and cannabis definitely helps. Movement helps, sound helps, music helps, being around people helps, hugs, all these things help, you physically feel better and also, emotionally feel better. I mean, it's a holistic type thing, and we don't do that. We isolate ourselves when we're anxious and scared, and some of us do. I won't say like all of us do, and I'm me, like I will say I am one who retreats a lot, and in retreating, that doesn't help either. Like it's hard, I think, for people to let down walls that they've had up for so long. And I say this also to be able to let those walls down and experience life in a different way, in a meaningful, pleasurable way, enjoyable way. And I don't say pleasurable like, we should live so we feel good all the time, but like joy in experiencing the array of emotions every day, and gratitude. That really does change one's perspective. If you're having a shitty day and you really want to change that, say a prayer, right? Or whatever it is. Give yourself a pep talk. Listen to some music. Be in nature. Whatever that is for you. Whatever gets you out of there quicker. And it's different for everybody. And sometimes we have to like mix and match, right? Like if it's freezing outside, I'm not going to go ground myself in the ground. So I might say a little prayer. But there are really these cool things. I just found out there's grounding blankets. So anyways, I digress because I will go off on another tangent there. And all of this stems to the fact that I feel like my family is amazing. And I feel like we shouldn't judge other people for where they are in life, or even judge ourselves. Like sometimes, I look at my family and, my nieces and nephews are so young, they're like in their 20s, and they have such heavy burdens on their heart, right? Like they've been through some shit. I mean, we've all been through some shit. And they have their entire lives ahead of them, like you're in your 20s, you have babies, or you're thinking about having babies, you're thinking about getting married, or you're thinking about, sharing your life with someone. And these people have gone through some crazy shit. And through it all, I want to give thanks to my dad for showing me what, God is, who God was. And I want to be grateful to my grandmothers and my mom, who showed me what natural healing was. Like my grandma, my mother's mom, very much holistic into spiritual things, ancestors and everything. Maybe she didn't talk about it much, but it was very much mixed in with her Catholicism. And then for my dad's mom, she was very Christian, and she became saved and came to Jesus. I don't know when, but it was before my dad. And my dad became a Christian. He became saved when I was like, I don't know, 4 or 5, something like that. Because my dad was also an alcoholic. And so I feel like we've persevered. And before you go out and judge someone for, I don't know, how we're healing, you know, or how they're living life, you know, or how you think like, oh my gosh, they should be way ahead, you know, like before we go and judge somebody thinking like we're better than they are, or like they should be ahead, or instead of giving them support and encouragement, you know, like why do we make people feel like they're not enough? Why can't we meet people where they are, support them, encourage them, and help them, like, see them through the thing, you know, like, and you know, and I will say it's probably has a lot to do with trauma and the walls that we build because we don't want to continue to get hurt and we don't know how to trust. Or, you know, we're still learning how to trust. It's a process, right? Like I honestly feel like since the day I was born, this is a spiritual journey for me. I never really thought about it as like, oh, my spiritual journey, you know, my spiritual journey started, you know, a couple years ago or, you know, a decade ago. I think like I feel that my spiritual journey has been since the day I entered this world. Like I do think we choose where to be in a sense, you know, and also like this is just where I needed to be, you know, in my next life, you know, whatever I learn now and however much I level up, you know, in my next life, and maybe it'll be different. Like maybe I'll experience different things. And I do feel like I have lived quite a few lives, even on this planet in my past 43 years. You know, I feel like I've lived through many lives, you know, like I'm not the same person I was in my 20s. I don't even know who that kid was, you know, when she was 4 or 5. And like those memories are very hard for me to recollect, to remember. Like I feel like another thing that I should say right quick is that for those of us and people who have experienced trauma and are coping decently or coping well, are alive, you know, they manage to stay attached to this plane and not take their lives, or they, you know, or maybe they have taken their lives in other ways by maybe overindulgence of and over treatment of, you know, alcohol or drugs, you know, the ones that can kill you, pharmaceuticals. Like sometimes I feel like we bring on that early death ourselves because we don't take care of this vessel that we've been given, and honor it because it's the only one we have. So that's a whole nother topic. So like before we go off judging people and where they are in life, versus just meeting them where they are, yeah, I say humble yourself. You know, we don't know people's lives and the things that they're going through, and give grace. You know, our planet would be so much better if we could just see the good in the world, the beauty in the world. Yeah, it's a big fucking suck fest and we could be completely anxiety ridden, but you're just leading yourself to an early grave. And the reason why I want to share stories of my family is because they are resilient people. I've learned so much from them, even though we're not close all the time. There's this, I'm drawn to be near my nieces and nephews, my brother Tony's kids, because I love him. Like I loved him very, very dearly, and I don't talk about him very much because I have a hard time grieving. I have a hard time being vulnerable because I feel like I grew up being taught to be strong, you know, like you can't fucking cry, you gotta keep going. And, you know, in this life, you know, I was taught like, be careful, watch out. people are gonna hurt you, so it was very much so like I was walking on eggshells and living in survival mode all the time. Although I did have some sense of spirituality, knowing that I was held and I was protected. But it's leaning into that feeling. I struggled a lot with religion and family because we have different ideals. But now I feel like I've been able to accept what I believe, and be comfortable with it. Like, they are hardcore Christians, and that's cool. I love them for it. I love their prayers. I love their belief. I reference the Bible a lot because that's what I know. That's what I read so many times. I studied it, like I wanted to be good at it. And I did, in a sense to where I would even use it as not a very nice tool to be mean to my sisters. And like, how awful of me to use something like words are very powerful. When we give them energy behind them and feeling, and it's a spell. So be careful with the spells that you cast, and even actions, right? Like, if when people beat other people up, I mean, that's not good. That's action taken from energy, like I feel like, and that, I'm not like watch out, but be careful, because I feel like what you put out there, you're going to get, in a sense, to where maybe it might not be in this lifetime, or maybe it is, for people that are protected. People ask me if I believe in evil spirits and all that jazz, and like, I think it's out there. I say this a lot. I like to live in my little bubble of oblivion, because that's where I thrive. I choose to live in happiness and playfulness like a kid, because that feels good to me. And that's what, I learned reading the Bible. Be like children. They see things and they're so fucking excited about it, like, and happy, and they want to try new things. They want to learn, and they want to be like the people around them. Like, ooh, what can I do next? So I feel like I've embraced that. I had a hard time dealing with accepting who I am when it comes to, I am childlike, and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. And I want to share my stories with people, of my family members as well. And I would love for them to come on my podcast and share, their lives with them, because, we all have different perspectives. And that's another thing we really need to pay attention to, is when we're conversing, or talking and trying to communicate, your perspective may not be the same as mine. I mean, people who experience the same fucking thing, their perspective may be totally different. Like, I may be calm, chill, and collected, and the other person's totally freaking out. And that's totally one of my sisters, that she's always freaking out, like, where I had to be super fucking chill. And like, if I hurt myself, I couldn't be the one crying and in pain, because she would be crying for me. She just absorbed all of this. But I felt like I had to be strong for her. And I think that's just something I carried with me for a long time. I have to be brave so I can be brave for my sister. But it's important to know that we go through several emotions, right? And it's okay to take on the tears. It's okay to let it out, to show. We just have deadened ourselves inside when it comes to even being out in public or corporate America. Like, sing, motherfuckers, be at the grocery store. That fucking song reminds you of something and puts you in some kind of mood, fucking elevated mood, then experience it, feel it. And if people look at you like you're a fucking weirdo, well, fuck them, like, honestly, because you're doing yourself a favor. You're keeping yourself alive longer. You're fighting, you're resisting the stagnancy that you have in your body, if you're anxious ridden, and it takes time. It's something you've got to build. It's not comfortable. It's uncomfortable. And you got to turn your give a fuck off. And I will say cannabis helps me turn my give a fuck off, to experience life in a manner that I want to. So there is my spiel. I'm at 20 minutes. I didn't want to go further than this. I hope I wasn't all over the place, but ultimately I wanted to get on here and talk about how I feel my family is so resilient, and we've gone through so much, and this is everybody. Everybody's gone through some shit. We all have like alcoholics in our families. You know, nobody's perfect. People with anxiety. We have, you know, like all kinds of people in our families. We deal with all kinds of people on a day-to-day if we're out in public, you know. And so I just, before you go out there and judge, you know, that is somebody's family member, and you don't know what they've gone through, and you've probably gone through so many similar things. Be kind, love, be different, you know, and if that's something you've been trying to do and you're struggling to try to be different, hit me up. I would love to talk to you about my experiences, and I would love to hear about your experiences and what has worked and what hasn't worked. So thank you for listening. I love you guys all very much. And till next time, Nurse Coach Odie.